Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to KDTV.
All the pain that I went through got me dealing with some issues. But all I need some weed, I don't even need a tissue. You came at me floss, so like a teacher, I dismiss you. You won't get saved by the bell, and we ain't gon' miss you. So did you really think that I was gonna sell out when I did 3 years in a motherfucking jailhouse? Treat us like the banks, what we need is a bailout. You can't do that, pack your bags and get the hell out. Cause we ain't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us, in case you forgot. We were people with our own plan, and we were held captive on our own land.
Yo, what it do, good people? Welcome back to the show. This is KDTV. I'm your host, Keith Daniel, and you are now tuned in to the Daniel Diagnosis. All right. What are we diagnosing today? We're diagnosing DEI or anti-DEI. Some of you may know what they are, others may not. But for those of you that do know what it is, we're going to take a little refresher, you know what I mean? And for those that don't, listen up. All right. And how do you feel about it? Are you on the side of DEI, or do you feel like we need to do away with DEI? How do you feel? That's the premise of the whole show this evening. All right. So me personally, I got to be honest. I really didn't even understand DEI was into it. It was in effect as far as being something federally dictated until like 2 months ago. You know what I mean? Me and my partner, we were having a conversation in some kind of way that anti-DEI law passed by Auntie Ivy, Auntie K. You know, I'm from Alabama, you know what I mean? So we got Auntie K Ivy. You know, me, I ain't really ever had a problem with Auntie K. Me personally, you see what I'm saying? I see jokes and saying with people saying this, that, and the third about her, but me personally, I ain't got no problem with Auntie K. You know, me and Auntie K got a good relationship. But she did sign this into we're gonna get into it a little bit later on. And that's how the conversation came up. I remember when, you know, I don't know if I was listening to the radio and hearing about it or ran across some YouTube videos or something, because I don't watch the news. So I know it ain't come from the news. But when I heard about it, the anti-DEI bill getting passed, in my head, this was my immediate thought. I was like, well, damn. The sound of it is going to affect some people, but you know, to the victor go the spoils. Like, if you're smart enough to get in, you get in. It's not dependent on your color or anything else. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the immediate thought. But then the reality kicked in a little bit later. Like, when me and my partner were talking, like, whoa, yeah, this could lead to some real life problems. However, it's a double-edged sword, because just like anything, they try to slip everything in with one piece of legislation. So they try to, basically, it's an umbrella effect. With this umbrella being the legislation, we're going to try to get as much in up under this umbrella as possible, passing through this rain, getting to the side that we want to get to, if that makes sense. All right, so let's talk about DEI, man. And let's define what DEI really means. All right. Yeah, let's see what they really mean. So let's define DEI. All right. Diversity, and this is according to Wikipedia, as you can see on my on the screen. The diversity, equity, and inclusion are organizational frameworks which seek to promote the fair treatment and full participation of all people, particularly groups who have historically been underrepresented or subject to discrimination on the basis of identity or disability. All right. Let's sum it up right there. Now, as you're gonna see, it's gonna be all other kind of shit that get tied up into this DEI thing. But for the opening statement in the definition of what DEI is, diversity, equity, and inclusion are organizational frameworks which seek to promote the fair treatment and full participation of all people, particularly groups who have historically been underrepresented or subject to discrimination on the basis of identity or disability. These three notions, diversity, equity, and inclusion, together represent three closely linked values which organizations seek to institutionalize through DEI frameworks. Some experts say diversity and inclusion should be decoupled in some cases. Some frameworks, primarily in Britain, substitute the notion of equity with equality, yada, 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 yada. I think you get the picture. All right. Now, these are ideals that are being promoted in this world that we live in now. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. In my humble opinion, I do believe that we have to be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Tolerant of everyone. For example, me personally, I'm from the great state of Alabama. Roll Tide. Blitz, Bama, Blitz. Rama Jamma. Yeah. I'm from the great state of Alabama. And Kay Ivey serves as our governor. And as I stated before, I don't have a problem with Auntie K. Me being honest with you. But it does raise my attention to this DEI conversation. She did raise my attention to that by passing that law. And I find that we're not talking about that amongst a whole lot of other things that we really need to be talking about because we're too caught up in shit that don't even benefit us. But that's a whole nother conversation. All right. So in looking at this and understanding that we're trying to promote participation and fair treatment for everybody. That's basically what they're saying that DEI is. I mean, the words themselves explain to you exactly the letter. Let me say it like this: the letters DEI and the words that they represent should already explain to the person like what this is all about. All right. And what I'm looking at is, for example, this paragraph here. DEI is most often used to describe certain training efforts, such as diversity training. Though DEI is best known as a form of corporate training, it also finds implementation within many types of organizations, such as within academia, schools, and hospitals. Now, this is where it gets kind of tricky at. When you talk about it also finds implementation within many types of organizations, such as within academia, schools, and hospitals. Now, the academia and schools, when we talk about academia and schools and having this type of thought process thrown into the learning curriculum, you're going to upset a lot of you're going to make a lot of waves. Let me say it like this. You're going to make a lot of waves, and all those waves may not be good waves. Just due to the institution or the institution that we are all a part of. And you know, if you want to make those waves, and if that's a battle you want to fight, I ain't mad at you. You know, everybody has their right, freedom of speech. You have your opinion. Just don't do no harm to nobody or anything that would upset the balance and the nature of what we call life. Other than that, do you? So I ain't knocking it, but yes, you're going to have an issue in trying to do it in that fashion. Now that we have a good understanding on what DEI is, diversity, equity, and inclusion, I want to point out something to you. On June 25th, 2021, Executive Order on Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility in the Federal Workplace was issued by the sitting president. Now, what does this mean? This means that this became a federal mandate. All right. This executive order right here became an executive mandate. It came in the federal workplace. Executive orders dictate the federal workplace, the federal workforce. Now, here's the key word in this: federal. I want you to remember that. The key word in this executive order, regardless of what it's about, and we already know what it's about: diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? It only stipulates the federal workforce. Now, I say that so people can understand this point that I'm about to make. The state level and the federal level are two totally different things. Now, I've been saying this for quite a while now, and I might have said it in some of my previous videos, but the government that we were accustomed to 10, 15 years ago, it ain't the same. It ain't moving the way it used to move. And the only thing you got to do is pay attention. Nobody bucked on Obama for real when he passed an executive order. It was what it was. They might were pissed at him. Now, he couldn't get a whole lot of shit passed in the Senate because it was a Republican Senate. And I think that's why a lot of people, you know, had fault in him, you know what I mean, amongst other things that I'm not going to speak on in this video. But he was signing executive orders out the yin-yang. Bush did too. Shit, Trump did too. Biden is too. The difference is right now is that the governor seem not to be even paying attention to what the federal mandate is stipulating. Why do I say that? I'm going to show you something. See which states have introduced or passed anti-DEI bills. Look at this. More than 30 states have introduced bills banning or limiting DEI initiatives during their current legislative sessions. Let me make sure. This is March 2nd, 2024. This is 3 months ago. This is timestamp 3 months ago, y'all. Republican lawmakers in more than 30 states have introduced or passed more than 100 bills to either restrict or regulate diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in the current legislative session, according to an NBC News analysis. Now let's look at this key up here. Blue saying it's been introduced. Gold is saying it has passed at least one chamber. Got 2 chambers in government, Senate and House. Orange here is saying that it's been enacted. And it's been enacted in 3 states. Utah, Texas, Tennessee. I live here in the great state of Alabama, and it's passed. Kentucky passed. Ohio passed. Wisconsin passed. Iowa passed. Kansas passed. Arizona passed. Idaho passed. Wyoming passed. Montana passed. Now, this is what I want you to understand. I'm being honest with you. The reason that it's passing these houses and things of that nature is because we don't take politics seriously. I'm gonna let that sit there for a minute. We don't take politics seriously. Think about that, man. What diversity, equity, and inclusion really can matter. Right? Oh, these states right here. All this, man. All this. All this. It ain't. We ain't paying attention. I'm telling you, I'm being honest with you, bro. I'm just keeping it a bean. I know for my state, but we ain't paying attention. We're really not paying attention, especially my generation and below. We'd have zero fucks to give about politics. I'm sorry, but this is the truth. Gen Xers and below don't buy into policy and law and things of that nature, and it's a shame. It's sad. It's a sad truth. I know it, and I'm ashamed of it. You know what I mean? I'm being honest with you, just being part of the generation. But truth being told, like, man, we don't get out here and vote, man. We don't be worried about what laws are passed and how it's going to affect us and how things can be better. Like, no, we just so caught up individually and doing our own thing. You know what I mean? And that's why I have a problem with the reparations conversation, because man, niggas would talk to think like this. I mean, shit had got so bad to where we just don't think that shit can be good. Like, straight up. And you don't know other race in the world really think like that. I'm being honest with you. So if you think that we don't need some type of recoupment for the what the word I'm looking for when you punitive, for the punitive damages, I mean, I think that you tripping. Well, this shit done took a toll. I mean, when you just look at the words diversity, equity, and inclusion, like, bro, that's been our plight for forever since I've been on this planet. You know? That's been my plight since I've been here. Everybody's plight. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, again, I'm from Alabama, man, and we've already passed in one house, and laws have been wrote in. I mean, bills have been signed into law by KI prohibiting certain actions, which have something to do with DEI. But look at this: Mississippi done introduced theirs. Georgia introduced theirs. South Carolina introduced theirs. Arkansas done introduced it. Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia. Like, bro, like it's crazy. Now, here's the thing I think that people kind of miss. I'm gonna point something out to you. And before I get into the Alabama thing. All right, so we discussed what DEI was. But I think I want to go back up to what DEI was so we can understand, because what's happening is everything's being lumped together. And when you start lumping all divisions of people together, you're giving people more, like it seems like you're trying to, okay, let me say it like this: double-edged sword. On one side, yes, if I bunch all these different minority groups together, I have more power if they're together than they separate. But on the other end, if you're against one or more groups, you're also bringing your opposition together as well to oppose everybody over here. So it's like you're drawing this line in the sand. All right. What I mean by that is this paragraph right here. Diversity is embracing the differences of everyone brings to the table, whether it's someone's race, age, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, physical ability, or other aspects of social identity. All right. So the issue is, when you talk about conservative America, they don't want certain things pushed down their throat. We all understand what diversity is. You see what I'm saying? My whole point is we understand what diversity is. We get it. These two words right here, we don't really care about. Like, if you really look at working class America and what we're going through, we don't care about your sexual orientation. That's your personal thing. Keep it personal. Don't bring it to the workplace. But in conservative America, that right there in any legislation is going to cause a problem. You done already pushed them with the race thing. You done already pushed them with the age thing. You done already pushed them with the ethnicity, religion, and gender. Like, you think that these ideals would be, hey, this is what the world is. Nope. In conservative America, you still have people that have issues with race, age, ethnicity, religion, and gender. I'm from Alabama. I'm telling you, just what it is. People still look at certain, like I'm conservative in a lot of ways, just on how I choose to move. Now, in my ideology, yes, I can say that I'm more progressive and more liberal, because I understand the world in a different space now. But for what I like and what I prefer, I'm more conserved. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm not really out there like that. That's what I prefer for my life. But I'm not knocking nobody else for doing anything that they got to do. Like it is what it is. Like I can't live your life, and that's just how the game go. You know what I mean? So me being like that and living down here, I'm understanding that, man, it's when in having conversations with people and being around people. Yes, this is a very, very conservative area down here. So if we already done talked about race, age, ethnicity, religion, and gender, and we got to have an issue with those. When you bring up sexual orientation in a conservative space, and what you'll do is, and this is crazy, but what you'll do is when you bring up that aspect right there, you'll start making people that gave leniency to the prior five things, they'll start doubling back down on like fuck it all. You know what I mean? Because they'll understand they because it's chess. If they understand that, oh no, I'm doubling down on this right here because you're putting this into it. I already got a problem with the gender. I already got a problem with religion. I got a problem with ethnicity, age, and race. So fuck it. Let's just draw the line in the sand. That's the issue with all. That's the issue with it all. All right. So it's a couple of different things that I want to dive into. Um, want to see if we can listen to this audio. And this is about KIV signing the DEI and what anti-DEI laws into effect in Alabama. All right, we're gonna do it. Hold on, Latoya. Hold on. How can I skip this, man? I can't skip this at all. I don't want to. All right, so I'm just gonna let it go then. Like, I don't. I can't let you just advertise for free like that. You know what I mean? I don't even know what SAP and Concur is, but that's how they get you. But this is something that I do want y'all to listen to. Um, again, I didn't even listen to it yet. I read the dialogue transcript. And it's between Ari and one and someone else. It's pretty interesting, but it just help you get a better understanding as far as what's going on in this aspect. Man, hold up, man. These folks got me. Stop saying the ad, man. What the fuck? What they got me, boy? I just want to listen to the goddamn. This shit is. Boy, I fucked up my whole dialogue with this shit. I don't even know what to listen to no more. fuck, man. I fucked up my whole show with this shit. Now, what I do want to do is I want to dive into an article that I pulled up on Meetings Today. And I'll click on something random in a minute because I think that if it's in your search engine a lot of the times and it don't got a lot of clicks, it might be more substantial than the nonsense that comes out of the mainstream. You feel what I'm saying? So this article is entitled "A History of DEIX Bills and Executive Orders as Biden Begins Term." This came out in 2021. Now, this is the thing for me. I need people to read between lines. I need people to understand exactly like where we are. All right. Now, I already showed you that the government ain't working in the way that it used to work to a degree. An executive order gets passed, it's law. That's federal law. Federal overran the governors for a long period. Now we're back to a point to where the governors oversee their states and they can implement laws that basically supersede what the feds implement. You see what I'm saying? And that's what happened, or that's what's happening now. I mean, with DeSantis saying what he's saying in Florida, and Texas doing their thing, and Tennessee doing their thing, Alabama on the verge of it, and it's like, bro, if the Fed said DEI and the governors come back and said not in my state, I don't know. It seems like we're back to that original constitution where all the states were actually governed like countries. And the federal reach ain't what it used to be. Now, I could just be tripping, but that's what it seemed like to me. You can ask my mama. We have conversations, and I done told my mama this before. I said, man, Kay Ivey got more power than Joe Biden. I'm just saying, I don't know this to be, wholeheartedly true, but if I just had to say, I would say that Kay Ivey got more power than Joe Biden in what goes on in the state of Alabama. Period. Understanding history and understanding, law, you will understand that the government that we grew up in and became men in, and as young men had to navigate through, that wasn't always the government. The original Constitution basically was set up to states acted like countries, and the president was just the chairman of the board, if you will, as far as all these states. That's what the federal government was there for. He didn't have any problem, like he wasn't really implementing any law on the land. He took care of our issues elsewhere. He was our representative. That's what the president is. All right. Now, with the executive order powers that came into play after 9/11 and things of that nature, because we're in a perpetual state of war. We're in a war on terror, or we were in a war on terror. And that's a perpetual state of war. So therefore, the executive order powers were the thing. Like that was law. So whatever the president signed as an executive order, that went as law. But the moment you come out of this perpetual war state, all the power goes back to the governors. They're governors. They govern their land to the tune of their constituents. For us, we don't let our voice be heard enough. Now, it's a couple of pieces in here that I want to look at in this article. It's well, first of all, let's talk about executive orders, because it's right here. Article 2 of the Constitution vests the president's executive power, giving him the ability to oversee and direct the various aspects of the executive branch. An executive order is a signed, written, and published directive from the president of the United States that regulates the federal government's operations. Executive orders are not legislation. They require no congressional approval, and Congress can only create legislative barriers that interfere with but cannot overturn them. All right. The Constitution sets forth the expectation that the president will act responsibly in support of existing laws rather than the opposition. If an executive order conflicts with existing laws, it can be invalidated. Now, we all know that DEI doesn't conflict with any existing laws. But nevertheless, certain governors, hell, 30 states are trying to invalidate it. But you now see what an executive order is. It's not law. You know, and in war times or in times of war, understand who the president is. He's the lead, he's the commander-in-chief of the military. He write the check. Yes or no, sir. And ain't no, sir. It's yes, sir. Carry out the orders. But we ain't in that state no more, it seems like. It seems like the governors have a little bit more say-so. It seems like they do. All right. Now, just so you understand what executive orders are, here's a timeline of historic executive orders. 1941, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Executive Order 8802, outlawed discrimination based on race, color, creed, and national origin in the federal government and defense industries. In 61, John F. Kennedy, Executive Order 1092-5, enforced equal employment opportunity and affirmative action without regard to the race, creed, color, or national origin. See, understand now, it's giving you a timeline of shit that we had to go through. Like, why would, like, if we didn't have problems, if it wasn't an issue and people be talking about, well, you got your ass kicked, now you want to talk about, no, bro, we didn't get our ass kicked, man. We just got done wrong. It's a big fucking difference. Like, straight up. Like, it wasn't no big war. It's like, no, man, a conquest and conquering. Like, bro, when you come in, you playing about unfair means, and we are totally at a disadvantage in this, that, and the third, because simply we trusted you. And now we got this whole new system or this whole new government in place, and it ain't to the benefit of us. Like, come on, man, something got to be done. Like, you got to, like, come on, bro. Why would we even have to sign legislation like this into law, or would have executive orders like this coming up if it weren't for a very flawed ideology. This is the crazy part. This ain't even legislation. These presidents just signed this shit because this is what needed to be done at the time, because it wasn't going to get through Senate and the House. Think about that shit. It wasn't going to get through Senate and the House. So the presidents had to sign these executive orders. Now, I can play on the other side of the knife and be like, well, maybe it was a ulterior motive to them signing what they signed, but I ain't trying to go that deep with this video. I'm just saying, listen, look at it. John F. Kennedy. He had to write an executive order to enforce equal employment opportunity and affirmative action. Nixon even had to write an executive order, establish the Office of Minority Business Enterprise, a federal agency dedicated exclusively to minority business enterprise. And I'm gonna say this, regardless if they did it for nefarious purposes, bro, it still came into effect. It's our fault that we ain't taking advantage of these things that came into effect. I'm gonna say it like that. It's our fault that we ain't taking advantage of none of this shit. George W. Bush permitted religious affiliation preference. In hiring practices that remain in compliance with non-discriminatory laws. Now, his dad ain't did nothing. You know, this George W. Bush. His dad ain't did nothing. His dad was cold-blooded, bro. I ain't lying, but King George, boy, he was cold-blooded, boy. Junior wasn't nothing like him. Junior was like Junior might be all right, bro. Like they just put him in that position. He didn't really want to be there. He was like, he'll take the perks or whatnot, but when it come down to it, he can't take that pressure like that, man. But you know, it ain't got nothing to do with race. You see what I'm saying? I mean, keeping it a bean. It's all about religion, the religion affiliation with him. You know what I mean? Saying, I don't care what you in, Muslim, this, that, and the third, practice what you want to practice. You know what I'm saying? He stayed away from the race game, though. And then, of course, Obama signed his executive order prohibiting the federal contractors and subcontractors from discriminating based on sexual orientation and gender identity. I guess that was the next step. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that the Black community for choice of words right now have with Obama. Like, you had an opportunity in what we deem to be the first Black president to do something great for the culture. And even, I ain't saying you didn't do anything great, but your staple is gonna be that. You see what I'm saying? Like your thing that you're gonna be remembered of is gonna be that. Like they're gonna always have that asterisk by your name. Like you can say, yeah, he's the first Black president, but because you didn't take certain actions, it's gonna always be a plethora of asterisks by your name that people who oppose you going to bring up, and people who do support you aren't going to be able to defend. That was it. All right. So here's the thing. I like this section as well. The notable sections of the executive order. All right. Now I want you to pay attention to this. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 points right here that I want you to really pay attention to. And these points, in my opinion, are the most important points that are to be taken away from that executive order. If we were to focus on these points and understand exactly what took place 3 years ago, and we were talking about it 3 years ago, I think we won't be in the situation that we're in right now. However, it ain't never too late to do nothing. All right. So we need to look at these points. Section 4 in the executive order, identifying methods to assess equity. How are we going to assess equity? When we say we're going to be equitable, what is equitable? How are we defining it? How do we assess it? How do we determine if we're being equitable or not? Section 5, conducting an equity assessment in federal agencies. Now, again, this is just the feds we're talking about. When you said federal agencies, like if you're down here on the state level, on the city level, things of that nature, honestly, this doesn't apply to you, because according to the title of this executive order, it only affects those in federally obtained positions. Allocating federal resources to advance fairness and opportunity. All right, allocating federal resources to advance fairness and opportunity. That is a section that needs to be paid attention to. Reason being is we now know that there are federal resources to advance fairness and opportunity. But are we paying attention to it? No, we're not. Promoting equitable delivery of government benefits and equitable opportunities. So now we know that there are government benefits and opportunities that are out there, that we have people in place to ensure that it's being thrown across at an equitable rate. But we ain't cashing in on it. Engage with members of undeserved communities. What the hell is an undeserved community? Oh, I'm sorry. Underserved. I look underserved community. If I'm thinking about undeserved, I read that totally wrong. Yeah. Underserved community. Okay, I'm getting it. Establishing an equitable data working group. So I'm reading all these things and I'm understanding, like, bro, we got tools. Now we know we have federal funding because there's federal resources there. It's government benefits and opportunities that we ain't tapping into. We have an opportunity to try to engage with the higher ups, being from underserved communities. And they want to create these equitable data working groups. Now, here's the thing, like, we all have this, I ain't gonna say we all, but a lot of people in the world have a distrust of the government. We got to keep it a buck with that. It's just fact. But if we start paying attention to the things that truly matter, we'll understand things aren't as bleak as they look. It's just the fact of we're not cashing in on the opportunities that are available because we're not trying to make ourselves aware of said opportunities. That's just it. Like, even with this DEI, now when you start looking at this and you start understanding how this could be a game changer from the level of being from an underserved community, from being of a place to where you're not given a fair shake, you had to pull yourself up from your bootstraps and get it out the mud. Now it's an opportunity there to where it can help you out, even if you done came up to a place of being head above water. Why not get to a point where the water on the waist high? The opportunity is there. Instead, though, what's happening is people that's understanding things a little bit more than you are and paying attention to things more than you're paying attention to things, they're understanding that the feds have funds there. And if you're not going to claim them funds, and if you're not even going to pay attention to what actually transpired and what took place, well, what they're going to do is turn that situation into an anti-situation, and they're just going to try to recoup them funds for themselves. And then you'll start seeing different things happen because they're going to take them funds and going to make it work for their constituents that's actually paying attention and working. Because the one thing that no successful politician wants is to be voted out. Period. Trust me, I know. The last thing you want is to be voted out. You see what I'm saying? And so what any person in power is actually going to do, you got to understand that one person is a representation of the votes that they got. Now, they did some nefarious shit to get the 9 times out of 10, but the people that voted in this situation, we're talking about, let's say, a governor position. In that situation, they're concerned about what their powerful constituents say and how they feel. And if they're leaning in a way of anti-DEI, you best believe that governor is going to lean the way they lean. So the old phrase goes, the power is in the people. Period. We got to lose that mindset that we outnumbered. No, we ain't outnumbered. Not at all. We just done tricked ourselves to believe that we are outnumbered. You know how many folks, white folk, black folk, Mexican folk down here that's thinking, the Irish folk that think the same damn way? No matter where you at, it's multitudes of people that think the same way you think and can understand that, hey man, this can affect a whole lot. But we all trick ourselves and we make our enemy bigger than what our enemy, and I ain't even gonna say an enemy, man. I'm just gonna say the opposition, the alternative. We make that shit out bigger than what it actually is. Kids that's afraid of the dark. We think a monster up under the bed. That's the mentality that we have, and that's the mentality we have to lose. We got to quit thinking like it don't count. Votes don't count. This, that, you know what I think don't count. Them folk gonna do what they want to do anyway. They in control. Yeah, they in control because we allow them to be in control. We let them have control. We don't put a conservative effort towards making true change. And at the end of the day, no matter how you want to look at this situation, it's going to all boil down to votes and people. We can come up with all these radical ideas talking about we these people, we've been here, this our land, this, that, and the third. All that's fine and dandy. It is. And it all can be true. But another truth is that we have a system that's in place right now, and the type of lives we're living would not be possible if that system wasn't in place. And before we can go anywhere else and try anything else, what we first have to do is apply ourselves by the rules of this system and put ourselves in a position to where we can make real changes that are possibly needed. But we will not do that for the life of us. To save our soul, we won't do that. We'll make up a million different excuses. And with that, I'm going to digress. If you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you learned something. Hope I could shed a little bit of light. I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm just trying to tell you to think. Definitely not trying to tell you how to think. With all that being said, man, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button. hit the notification bell so you can be in tune. If the algorithm will let you be in tune when I drop a new video. If nobody else told you, I'm going to tell you, you are appreciated. This is the Daniel Diagnosis. I'm your host, Keith Daniel. Till we meet again, good people. Peace.